And it turns out in court, Conway basically out of nowhere had come up and was like, you know what this is for? And it was a doorknob and a handkerchief tied with a shoelace. And it's for knocking them down until they can't get up. Same thing, he went to Will separately from Sophie and showed a slingshot. These things are both recounted later by Will, because he'd obviously heard it from Sophie and experienced it himself.
Did Sophie and Will ever get married?
No. No, They were stopping there before they eloped.
That kind of breaks my heart.
Yeah,
my heart is really broken for that whole situation.
They called the police and obviously had said, look, the people I'm living with, they're a little bit sketchy. They kind of hate us. My fiance's dead. There's a really big concern. They find out later that the clown handkerchief that Conway had used while he was being a clown was shoved so far down her throat it took a lot of effort to actually retrieve it.
Oh.
Yeah, so think that when in Silence of the Lambs, when they removed the larvae.
It was still in her throat
Yeah.
when she was... Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes. So...
How did he get it down that far?
I don't know. I would assume pushing it. And or she could have inhaled it. It depends on what fabric it was, but I wasn't there.
That's just so aggressive.
Yeah.
It's so angry and aggressive.
But like I said, it depends on the fabric. She may have inhaled some of it and actually had pulled it into her esophageal area. But who knows? Mm-hmm. They found out that her jewelry and a lot of money had actually been stolen as well, because she was constantly walking around with about $1,000, which is today $24,450,000, and about $3,000 of jewelry, about $350,000.
Okay. All right. Chicago at that time, maybe that was an okay thing to be doing.
I mean, it wasn't. She enjoyed flaunting the fact that she had money. She didn't mind spending it, but it was more of a situation where it wasn't like she was doing it to be a jerk.
It's interesting that you had mentioned that, because that was something I was going to ask you.
If they stole anything from her.
I was like, how are they going to get her money when they kill her? How are they going to get the money?
So they actually fled for obvious reasons, and they had gone outside of Lima, Ohio, where he apparently grew up. His mother still lived in that area, but they actually got arrested at the Cadillac Hotel. It was referred to by a newspaper as a, quote, second-class hostelry. It was not a good hotel, and they were just obviously trying to hide. Some newspapers say that they were arrested at his mother's house. Almost all of them say that they were arrested at the Cadillac Hotel. Conway and Mary both had said they had no idea about the murder.
On the day that we planned our special trip?
Yeah, I mean, it took them about 2 weeks to find out where they were, too.
Bitch, you're not getting out of this. Come on.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, fuck.
When they were arrested, they both had said that they had no idea about the murder. Conway later changes his answer to the police and was like, oh, yeah, I did kind of hear about it, but we were already leaving town. We're on our way to Indiana.
Wait, I had already heard that our friends were murdered, but I was like, well, this vacation's really important.
Yeah.
I mean...
Maybe he was pretending he had a job that wasn't really covered in the article.
Was the doorknob still in the scarf?
Yep. Well, the other scarf, not the one in her throat.
Oh, God, okay.
There was another one.
Okay, I was like, was the doorknob in her throat, too?
No.
Okay.
After arresting both Mary and Conway, they go up and they search the room. And so they find in one of the chests that they were traveling with several suits that Will had. And that were Will's.
But Will is alive.
Will is completely alive. He was gambling all night.
So they stole her jewelry, the cash that she was carrying, and then he took a bunch of his suits.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he took I think 3. Mary had written off the fact that they had some of Will's suits with them. She had said that those clothes were given to Charlie by Sophia. Sophia told me the night before we left Chicago that she was tired of Will and intended to leave him. She claimed that she bought the clothes for him and also gave us $35 before we left. God knows Sophia was one of our dearest friends, and it's preposterous to think that we would have had a hand in her death. Apparently, at this time, and by the way, they were arrested on Halloween. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. Conway was saying that, well, yeah, we totally didn't know, and they were like, you did though. And he had come back and was like, well, okay, yeah, no, I did, but I didn't think she died.
I mean, don't you do that with your friends?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we were very, very close. Okay. That was how we said hello. Go, Conway, you joker.
He is silly. Conway was saying self-defense. He recounts that he and Mary were sitting at the house. Sophia had come home and she flew into a rage and insulted Mary. And essentially told Mary that not only am I not paying for anything anymore, but if you can't find money, maybe you should be a prostitute. Which clearly went over really well. Everything apparently escalated and Mary had left the room. He was still in the room. Sophie had flown into a rage and taken that weapon that he had shown her earlier, the handkerchief with the doorknob in it attached to a shoelace, and started trying to hit him. They both reached for the guns.
Oh yes, we both reached for fun. Oh, the gun.
And obviously in this case it's a doorknob and a handkerchief. But he had apparently gotten it from her, hit her once, she fell asleep, and then he tied her up.
That's what we'll call it.
Yeah, well,
she
you
took
know
a
how
nap
people are.
on
Yeah,
the
she
spot.
took a little napsy poo after I hit her.
Man, being hit in the
this.
back of the head makes me very sleepy.
I don't know why.
If only someone could put a handkerchief down my throat.
It helps me breathe. No word on how the handkerchief apparently just jumped down her throat all by itself. Maybe she did it herself when she woke up. She was like, whatever, gonna eat a handkerchief today. But he still maintained that it was all self-defense. He's a complete ass. Constantly. He was possibly up to swing from the gallows. During one of his confessions, Conway had asked his officer, "Say, Captain, do you know that in this case you can't hang a man with a wooden leg?" When the captain had said that he'd never heard of a law that sounded like that, he said, "Well, you have to use a rope."
Oh, that's so stupid.
So stupid. It's so stupid. And a reporter had actually asked him as well, like, how did he hurt his foot? To which Conway, who is on trial for murder of someone that obviously he was close with, said a steamboat ran over it.
He's a real funny guy.
So funny. What a butt face. As he was led away after the guilty verdict, where he had gotten life in prison instead of being hanged, he said that he would get out of this somehow. So Mary, because of her role in it, even though he had constantly said that she had nothing to do with it, it was just in self-defense, she was completely out of the room, she got about 14 years. As much as she and Conway were telling the jury that she wasn't involved and she had nothing to do with the murder, she had admitted that a time period earlier that they were planning to rob her and abscond essentially with her money and her jewelry.
Not trying to jump the murder gun.
Mm-hmm.
Did they execute One Leg Charlie?
They did not. He just got life in prison. Which, I mean, he did say that he was going to get out of this. Everyone was leading him to the prison, and he was like, I'm going to get out of this. He got sentenced to Joliet.
Oh.
Yep. 12 years later, he was working on a work farm, and he was able to escape.
Was it the old Joliet prison?
I would assume it's the old Joliet prison. Even though, obviously, he had only one leg, even though he was still rocking his wooden leg that he had made, he was able very easily to escape from the honor farm.
I forgot about that homemade leg.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and obviously, if there's a disability, the first assumption is that you probably can't do anything with it. And he was like, I'll show you. He was last seen supposedly in 1929. In that time period, you could kind of just jump into a circus and resume your anonymity.
Yeah.
The last time he was ever in the papers was in 1932 when his mother tried to get a judge to declare that he was actually dead so that she can collect insurance money because he had been gone for 7 years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's not around anymore because he'd be well older than 130 years old. But the thing that is kind of a weird happenstance is, remember, I did a lot of research on the Congress.
Yes.
So there was a man who they would lovingly call Peg Leg Johnny that was around during the time period of Al Capone obviously being around and about at the Congress. And there's a ghost currently that's haunting there. This man had had a heart attack in I want to say it was the Gold Room. Now there's the ghost thumping up and down the hallway. And a lot of people think that there might be some sort of correlation between the two. So Conway may have escaped, but he also may have been, there was a homeless man that had one leg that was stabbed outside of the Congress that they also kind of think that might be the person that's haunting the Congress now.
Man, I bet that if he is haunting the Congress Hotel, he probably tries stealing all the doorknobs. You, like, wake up in the middle of the night, it's jiggling, and it's just like, fuck, this one doesn't fit in my handkerchief.
God damn it, Charlie, come on. I have a little bit of a sad thing on here. Will had actually said, I am glad from now on I have no mission in life except for to help see the murderers of Sophie punished. I will do everything I can to help the police establish a case against this couple. The worst thing I think about this whole thing, besides obviously Conway escaping, is that Mary served less than a year.
What? Mm-hmm. Neither one of them really.
Right. And even her entering the court, she was definitely playing that card where she's like, I'm a woman, I don't know what you mean. Because when she saw Will, she would immediately drop to her knees, she'd sob, she'd plead with them and tell him that she wasn't involved in it. And
I was bedazzling my nipples when the murder happened.
Yeah, I mean...
You know? I wasn't even there.
Except for that, apparently when your husband killed someone and you're like, oh, okay, this is fine, you still went along with it and you were still fine with it until they caught you.
That's such a good story.
Like, I like how it ties back to the Congress.
I know.
That is one of the most well-seen specters that's in the Congress currently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the Congress. I don't know
too
anything.
much about the Congress.
But, that was a really good story.
Is it fun? And it's so completely underreported.
Mine, everybody's probably heard about. Maybe there's a few that don't know about it. But here's the thing about mine tonight is that you've probably heard about it, but I'm hoping that I can give you the story behind it. It was just looking at pictures of mountains of skeletons.
Oh.
Mountains of them. Yeah. Oh, you have a look.
Are we in the catacombs?
We are in the catacombs.
In Paris?
That's right. This week, we're specifically doing, for the paranormal portion of our show,
I'm so excited.
the Paris catacombs. I knew that you would be. Do you remember earlier I said I knew 200% you knew what it was going to be? And I felt like...
Yes.
And I said I felt like you would be excited about it. Oh man, I'm so happy you're excited.
You're excited.
Oh,
do you know how many things I listen to and or read about the catacombs? I'm really excited for you to tell
me
about that.
I honestly, I wish that all of the listeners could just see your fucking shit-eating grin right now. Just so fucking excited about it.
I feel like I'm blushing. It's ridiculous. I'm really excited.
Are you excited?
I have too many things to ask you.
Yeah, okay. There's obviously a whole wealth of information out there, so I hope that I have the answers to your questions. But this is something that I also want to touch base on first. You find articles that conflict.
Yeah.
The only thing you can do is try to find a way to say that you had found both of these things and then meet somewhere in the middle and move forward. Without further ado, the Paris Catacombs. Because Paris in the 17th century was rapidly growing as a major European hub, they had reached this point where the cemeteries began literally overflowing. The cemeteries were getting so packed with bodies that many of the corpses were becoming exposed, and they were just visible for everybody to see. Not a good look, Paris. The bodies were contaminating the drinking water. So gross. People were feeling like the solution to this problem was really right beneath the city this whole time. There were these centuries-old tunnels. They had existed since the 13th century.
Very cool.
The layout of them
is
fascinating.
Huge.
Oh my god, yes. The tunnels were originally used to mine limestone, which was much needed to build Paris into the thriving city that it had become. Limestone, it's a conductor.
Right.
The residents of Les Halles were especially pissed off because they lived right by the city's oldest and largest cemeteries, Les Innocents. The constant smell of decomposing flesh was so strong that even perfume shops were not able to conduct business.
I'm really jazzed.
I'm really jazzed that you're jazzed. I'm so happy that
I didn't get to go when I was in Paris, but I want to.
So, because of how awful the situation with all of these corpses was, with the terrible smell and the exposed bodies and it contaminating the water, there was a lot of push